Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren is speaking to her supporters. Let's listen in.
Structural change. And before we get started, I've got a word tonight for Nevada. Thank you for keeping me in the fight. The race has been called. Bernie has won. Congratulations, Bernie. Come on. But I want to tell you something else that's going on. Since Wednesday night, our support has been growing everywhere. Since I stepped on that stage, a 250,000 people have gone to elizabethwarren.com and pitched in their $25. In 3 days, people have contributed $9 million to this campaign. This fight is our fight. So join them. Go to elizabethwarren.com, be part of this fight. That's how we're going to get this done. We have a lot of states to go, and right now I can feel the momentum. So let's stay in this fight. You know, because I'm here in Washington, I want to talk specifically for just a minute at the top about a threat that is coming our way. And it's a big threat, not a tall one, but a big one. Michael Bloomberg. Now this is important to pay attention to now, because he has skipped the first 4 states and he plans to come in on Super Tuesday and immediately afterwards here in Washington, drop hundreds of millions of dollars and buy this election. He argues that he is the safest bet to beat Donald Trump. He's not safe, he's just rich. And here's the problem. He's hiding his taxes. He doesn't want you to see them until after the election. Who knows what lurks there? He has a history now of harassing women and of gender discrimination, and he has defended racist policies like redlining and stop and frisk. So let's think about that. Billionaire who hides his taxes, has a bad history with women, and defends racist policies. Let me just put it this way. We're not substituting one arrogant billionaire for another in 2020. Because here's the thing. Michael Bloomberg is not the safest candidate. Michael Bloomberg is the riskiest candidate for the Democrats because he cannot win against Donald Trump. This election is not for sale. We are going to make this election about democracy, about you. That's what this is about. So understand this, you bet, why I am in this fight. Now look, I am not a lifelong politician, but I am a lifelong fighter. I come by it natural. I was born and raised in Oklahoma. I have 3 much older brothers. I learned early, fight for your place in a family like that. But I'm a kid who watched early on as our family had a lot of ups and downs. And when my daddy got sick, and we went a long, long time without money coming in, I watched. When the family station wagon, we lost it. I listened to my mother cry at nights. And I remember when we were right on the edge of losing our home. You know what I remember best about that? I remember the day I stood in the doorway and watched as my mother paced back and forth. She had her slip on, her stocking feet, best dress laid out on the bed. She was 50 years old. She'd never worked outside the home, and she was terrified. But we were about on the edge of losing our house. And my mother stood there. She looked at me. She looked at that dress. She looked back at me. She walked over, pulled that dress on, and walked to the Sears Roebuck and got a minimum wage job answering phones. My mother saved our home, and more importantly, she saved our family. She taught me how to fight from an early age, fight for the people you love. And when I wanted to be a school teacher, and my family didn't have the money for a college application, when it looked like there was no chance on earth, I want you to know, I got in there and fought for it. I got to be a special education teacher. I've lived my dream job. I learned to fight early on, but here's the thing. It's not enough just to fight. You got to fight and have a plan to get things done. When the financial crash hit, you remember the one that Michael Bloomberg blamed on African Americans and Latinos. When the financial crash hit, I watched up close and personal as families who thought they'd done everything right lost a home, lost a job, lost all of their savings. I watched people who thought they were solidly middle class suddenly finding out they had nothing, and in fact, they were deep in debt, living out of their vans. And I watched as government turned its back on them, as government stood there and said, we got $700 billion to bail out the banks, and we got nothing for families that got cheated. And I saw how wrong it was, and I said, I will get in this fight. This will never happen again in our country. And I don't care who I have to fight to get there. So I had an idea. I had an idea for a plan, for a consumer agency. Now I want to tell you about this agency. It was an idea that just had a basic principle behind it, and that is no one should be able to make a profit by cheating people on mortgages, credit cards, payday loans, and student loans. Sound okay? You shouldn't be able to cheat people because of the color of their skin. You shouldn't be able to cheat people because they're female. You shouldn't be able to cheat people because they're seniors. You shouldn't be able to cheat people because they're students. It was all about just trying to get a level playing field. And I wanted an agency for that. I said, we could do this. Let's put government on the side of the people. So I wasn't in elected office. No, I went down to Washington, D.C., and basically I knocked on doors. And I talked to anybody who'd talk to me. I talked to Democrat, Republican, and I pitched them on this idea. After all, our country was in the middle of the worst economic recession since the Great Depression. And here's what they said to me. I got two answers. First answer from almost everybody was, that's a good idea. You could actually make a difference with that. That is structural change. And the second was, don't even try. Don't even try, because you'll be up against big money. You'll be up against Wall Street. You'll be up against all the Republicans, and heck, you're going to be up against half the Democrats. You'll never get it done. I heard that and I thought, all I can hear them say is, fight harder. Fight harder. Fight harder. Fight harder. So that's what I did. I laid it out. I got groups together, and I want to say the first groups that came in to defend that agency when nobody would talk about it were the unions. Can we say God bless the unions? They fight for working people. The NAACP joined us. They got it. AARP joined us. They got it. Even good old Consumers Union got in it. God. And that's the thing. We built a coalition. We pushed, we pulled, we were noisy, we were quiet. We did what we needed to do. And in 2010, President Obama signed that agency into law. The banks said it would never get done. At one point, they were spending $1 million a day lobbying against them. But here's the thing, just a bunch of people getting organized, having a plan. We beat the banks and we won. And why does it matter? That little agency has now forced the banks to return more than $12 billion directly to people they cheated. So I learned 2 lessons from that in Washington, not being a politician. The first one I learned is you don't get what you don't fight for. And the second is we can make government work for the people. We can do this. So yeah, I am a fighter, but I am a fighter who gets things done. And right now, we got a lot that we need to get done. It is time for a wealth tax in America. It is time to take on the fight against climate change. We need a Green New Deal and a Blue New Deal. It is time to take on gun violence in this country. And it is time to create a pathway to citizenship for all of our people. These are fundamental values that all progressives support. But the question has to be not just what we fight for, but what is our plan to get it done? There's no magic wand here. This is going to be about hard work, but it's also going to be about having a strategy. And here's a difference. People ask me about differences between Bernie and me. I want to point out one big one, and that is you want to get something done. Bernie says we're going to keep the filibuster. I say Mitch McConnell is not going to get a veto over what we want to do. Yep. Look at it this way. If we keep the filibuster, everything we need to get done has to pass a 60-vote threshold. That gives a veto to Mitch McConnell, to the Republicans, to the gun industry, to the oil industry, to the billionaires. I say we go to Washington to do the people's business. If Mitch McConnell gets in the way, get rid of the filibuster and let's go. Because understand this, I'm not in this fight to talk about change. I am in this fight to make change.